Linear relations. We're going to start with a video lesson to accompany lesson 2. Okay. We did an investigation in class to look at first differences, we didn't call them first differences at the start. We looked at the differences between linear and nonlinear relations. And when we did that, we discussed what it meant when we looked at the graph. What could we do to decide if it represented a linear or a nonlinear relation? So one of the things we did was we picked up a ruler and we dragged our ruler around and we said, can I line this up? Apparently, I'm not very good at lining up the ruler. I had it working a minute ago. Practice only makes perfect sometimes, I guess. And if I pick up my ruler and I can make it line up with my graph and I can make the edge of it line up and pass through all the points on my line, then it's linear. So I can see that if I actually can make this ruler work properly for me, I could line it up along the edge of all the points on this line. And it's almost perfect there. And if I moved it over to the second graph, and I did the same thing, I can line it up along the entire line nicely. Those are both linear relations. Now this last graph, if I tried to make my ruler work, this is interesting. I can have fun with this ruler. It's going to swing around everywhere here. There's no way that if I try and slide it around up here a bit, or from the top or the bottom, no matter what I try and do, I can't go through all the points here, can I? Because I'm only going through some there. I can rotate it around a little bit. If I can grab the ruler correctly, I can rotate it around, and you're going to see, even if I manage to rotate it around, which I don't seem to be able to do very well, I'm never going to get it to go through all of the points. So it's not linear. We'll move the ruler out of the way here. Now, the big thing there was to describe the difference between the appearance of them. If it's a linear relation, I can pick up a ruler and pass through all of the points on the line. If it's not linear, that's not going to happen. The other thing we looked at in class was first differences, and we gave it that name towards the end of class today. And first differences are the difference between consecutive values of your dependent variable. Now, if I think about that, what does it mean by consecutive values? That means when your independent variable, usually your x, is the generic term for it, or we could call it, for a lot of the examples we did today, the term number. Consecutive values of the dependent variable would tell you that the independent variable increases or decreases by the same value. And if you look at the differences between the values of the dependent variables, those are your first differences. And we learned today that first differences are what tells us if a relation is linear or nonlinear. If the first differences are constant, it's linear. If the first differences are not constant, it's nonlinear. And how do we find first differences? It's pretty basic. We just do subtraction. We take the second y value and subtract the one before it. And then we go to the third one and subtract the second one, and the fourth one and subtract the third one. Well, what do I mean by that? That's what we're going to be looking at. We can use first differences to decide if relations are linear or nonlinear. Now, the easy thing we can look at here, the x values in this relation are increasing by 1. So we can calculate first differences for that. If I look at these first differences here, what are my y values doing? They are decreasing by 1. So the first differences are -1, because we would do 1 take away 2, 0 take away 1, -1 take away 0, and so on. So that is in fact a linear relation. If I look at part B, the x values are increasing by 1. The y values increase by 4, increase by 4. Oh, this one decreased by 4. It's not changing by a constant, so therefore it's not a linear relation. It is a nonlinear relation. Now, before you come back for class tomorrow, I'd like you to have a look at the workbook that's posted on the internet on the My Class site, and I want you to do page 2 in that book. Thank you.